So something came across my desk today, and this is a topic that I've really wanted to talk about on the podcast for quite some time. This is a topic that I've really looked into. This is a topic that I've really dove into and looked at from every angle. And one of my best friends, since I was 7 years old, one of my friends, Zach Troutwine, he messaged me and said that he has a request for me to do a little bit of an assignment on this theory. And it is the juiced ball theory in the sport of baseball, obviously. And the term juiced is so universally compared to Jose Canseco. He wrote a book called Juiced about himself and the steroids that he would put in his body and the steroids that he would put in other players' bodies, namely Mark McGwire, giving steroid recommendations to guys like Rafael Palmeiro, Sammy Sosa, some of the other big names of that era. He really just threw everyone under the bus. And really, the main story of that book is that he threw Major League Baseball under the bus, saying that, yeah, I did this, and that, gave this to this, and that, this person, that person, the other person. And yes, baseball knew about it. And when he wrote that book, everyone really just said, hey, you're wrong for doing this. You're done from the game. You're never going to be brought back into the quote-unquote baseball fraternity, and you're out. And that's what I hear when I hear the word juiced. For whatever reason, I had to bring that up first. That's what I think of when I think of juiced, because that was the book that Jose Canseco wrote, and it was about steroids. But the juice ball theory, as explained by a prominent baseball writer, he wrote that the juice ball theory suggested that the baseballs used in Major League Baseball during the 1990s and early 2000s were altered in order to increase scoring. The theory receded once it became clear that the more likely explanation for the increase in scoring during that time was the increase in steroid use during that specific era, as documented in the Mitchell Report in 2006. The juice ball theory made a resurgence in the late 2010s as a noticeable uptick in offensive output and especially home runs was observed. According to the juice ball theory, it was said that a juiced ball bounces off the bat at a higher speed. Johnny Oates, who was a baseball catcher, a coach, manager, played Major League Baseball for the Orioles, the Braves, the Phillies, the Dodgers, and the Yankees from 1970 to 1981. He was known in his career as a very light-hitting player who was valued for his defensive skills and played most of his career as a reserve player. He had his greatest successes, though, throughout his career as a manager. He observed hits being made off of pitches that should not have been elevated. And in 2000, Jim Sherwood, a professor at UMass Lowell, was hired to test the baseballs manufactured in the Rawlings facility in Costa Rica. And I looked at these test results very candidly, and these test results were described in detail. He said that he did not expect to find any change from the manufacturing process that had been used the previous 16 years or more. Various baseball manufacturers in the United States also agreed that the theory is just nonsense. It's a conspiracy theory, and it needs to be debunked. The individuals that were interviewed from these manufacturing companies did not even know what it meant to have a juiced ball. On another hand, you have to take into consideration when questioning someone who works for a company that makes baseballs and they're being quote-unquote interrogated on how they are manufacturing these baseballs, they have their livelihood on the line. they have to sell as many baseballs as possible in order to make a profit. So their livelihood is on the line. And that depends on the sales or the sale of those baseballs, which would increase if the balls are juiced, right? If I'm going out and I'm buying a baseball and those balls are flying off my bat, I'm buying more. You're damn right I am. There's that point. Many pitchers as well felt that the balls became harder and traveled faster. Some pitchers even performed their own tests. Kenny Rogers, who had a 20-year baseball career, pitched from 1989 to 2008 for 6 different teams, won the 96 World Series with the Yankees against his hometown Braves, and played in the 2006 World Series with the Detroit Tigers. He was known for his fielding prowess, pitched a perfect game, and in 2008, he was the oldest player in the American League. He said that the ball in the center of each baseball was made of rubber rather than the old cork. Billy Koch found that when dropped from the same height, the rubber balls from 2000 bounced 2 to 4 inches higher than balls from 1999. So that's where you really started to see the shift in not just juiced balls or the theory of juiced balls, but obviously performance-enhancing drug consumption. Because we saw how long that list was on the Mitchell Report. Some of those names have never been fully proven, quote-unquote, guilty. But that report didn't do many players favors. In 2000, Frank DeFord, the great Frank DeFord, one of the greatest sports writers, novelists in sports journalism history, the late, great Frank DeFord passed away in May of 2017. Known for being a writer for Sports Illustrated, also being a correspondent on Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel, interviewed Sandy Alderson, an MLB vice president, to discuss the possibility of a conspiracy by Major League Baseball to doctor the balls. Alderson denied this possibility, and DeFord also discredited it as a conspiracy theory. So you have these really intelligent people interviewing really knowledgeable people about the game of baseball. Sandy Alderson, American baseball executive. He's a senior advisor for the Oakland A's. He previously was the GM of the New York Mets from 2010 to 2018. Prior to that, he was an executive for the A's, worked with the Padres, and was the worked in the commissioner's office, of Major League Baseball. And he's been around a long time, since the 80s. Led the A's to a World Series championship in 1989 as an executive. 3-time AL champion, 1-time National League champion, 2015 Baseball America Executive of the Year award. So you got some real knowledgeable people in the game of baseball that are examining this theory. Some players in 2002 in the World Series complained that the balls were juiced after an 11-10 game. Alderson denied these accusations. The juiced ball theory receded in popularity since the exposure of widespread use of steroids and other performance-enhancing drugs by professional baseball players during the same period, providing a likely explanation for the increased numbers of home runs. Now, you fast forward into the current decade, the 2010s, we're still in it, 2019, but you go back a couple years ago, during the 2017 MLB season, a record-breaking 6,105 home runs were hit by the league, surpassing the record of 5,693 set in 2000 during the height of the steroid era. So at the height of the steroid era, they hit 5,693 home runs. 2 years ago, 6,105 home runs. Beginning that season, you had a lot of commentators pointed out and pointed to the All-Star break as a likely beginning point for the change in composition, if there was one, of baseballs. In an article that was actually presented by The Ringer is owned by Bill Simmons, who formerly worked for ESPN. Ben Lindbergh and Mitchell Lichtman tested 36 game-used balls and found evidence that in the 2015 balls, they were slightly bouncier. 2016, the balls became slightly smaller and had lower seams. New York Mets manager Terry Collins said the seams on the ball are definitely lower, and I think that's why everyone is having blister problems all of a sudden, and there's no question that the ball is harder. San Francisco Giants pitcher Johnny Cueto stated that he strongly suspected that a tighter baseball was the cause of the first blisters of his career. Johnny Cueto has been pitching in the major leagues since 2008, did not suffer blisters on his hands until 2017. 2018, research by 538's Rob Arthur found evidence of significant difference in composition of the cores of baseballs produced after 2015 and before. And Rob Manfred has repeatedly denied allegations that modern baseballs are juiced and maintains that baseballs continue to be tested and fall within their designated measurable limits. Now, there's a prominent figure in the sport of baseball that baseball has tried to kick down so many times throughout his life, and that is the great Pete Rose. Pete Rose was on Michael Kay, and he had a lot to say about the game of baseball. And I want to play this interview, let you guys know what you can think of it. You guys can take what you want from it, and really just form your own opinion. We'll pull it up. We'll get it pulled up, and we will see what you think about Pete Rose's take on juice baseballs. So let's get that rolling.
Deadspin reports that Major League Baseball has set a new total strikeouts record in each of the last 10 seasons, and batters are in year 3 of a surge in home run production to match the height of the steroid era. Baseball is considered a different sport nowadays. Some of the changes mean less variety. Baseball legend Pete Rose feels that less variety is bad. Rose said, "I'm going to argue with baseball until the day I die that baseball is juiced. I don't care what anybody says. They'll say it's not, which they have to. I saw Bryce Harper break his bat in half and hit a 420-foot home run in New York. That just doesn't happen. I know the ballparks are small. It just seems to me that everybody who plays baseball today is a potential home run hitter."
That's very interesting stuff from the Hit King. And if there's anyone in the world that knows the game of baseball, the ins and outs, the strategy, the preparation that it takes, the managerial angles that you can approach the game of baseball, and the way you prepare top to bottom as a player, it is Pete Rose. And he believes that they are juiced. Now, the question is, you guys are going to ask me, being that I'm behind the mic, being that I'm the one that's talking about this topic, being that I'm the guy that's throwing out my opinion on this and really diving into this investigative journalism of juiced baseballs and the sport of baseball, what is my opinion on this topic? And I'm going to tell you, there is no doubt the numbers never lie. If there's any sport in the world where the numbers don't lie, where the numbers are as concrete a result or as concrete as an analytical measurement, it is in the sport of baseball. Batting average, on base percentage, strikeout percentage, ERA, whip, innings pitched, you name it. The statistical angle that baseball is approached within is so unlike any other sport and so truthful, unlike any other sport, that you have to look at the numbers, you have to look at the charts and say that something is up. Something is going on. I'd like to say that Aaron Judge could hit 60 home runs in a season. I'd like to say that Giancarlo Stanton could hit 60 home runs in a season. I'd like to say that some of these other guys could hit 50 to 60 home runs in a season. But it's not those guys in particular. It's the other guys. It's the guys that normally would hit 10 to 15 home runs that are hitting 25 to 30. The Brett Gardners of the world. Guys that, I mean, you go look at Brett Gardner, and I'm not picking on Brett Gardner. Brett Gardner's just playing the damn game. I'm not picking on him at all. But Brett Gardner is not a power hitter, okay? Not at all. And you go look at Brett Gardner's records. You go to baseballreference.com. You look at Brett Gardner's home run numbers. Since 2014, 2015, at 33 years old, Brett Gardner hit 21 home runs. Largely, that has a lot to do with the fact that Brett Gardner plays at Yankee Stadium, and he's a left-handed hitter. They got that short porch in right field. Everyone knows that. But Brett Gardner never hit more than 8 home runs up until 2014. Brett Gardner hit 8 home runs, 17 home runs, 16 home runs, 21 home runs as a 33-year-old left fielder. If Brett Gardner can hit 21 home runs in any park, in any capacity, he's not a home run hitter. Period. He's hit 15 this year. So he's about to surpass, he's on pace to surpass that 21 home runs from 2017. That's just a small example. But another article that I dove into as far as the as far as the juiced baseball theory, and it was one that I really enjoyed, was from Justin Verlander. Justin Verlander isn't buying any of MLB's explanations for the alarming spike in home runs this season. He thinks the baseballs are juiced, and Major League Baseball is behind all of it. Verlander has allowed 26 home runs at the All-Star break this season. The most home runs he's allowed in an entire season was 30 in 2016, and will easily eclipse that mark this season. But again, the suspicion over juiced baseballs goes beyond a 36-year-old pitcher allowing a ton of dingers. Across baseball, home runs are way up, more so than the last time we all thought baseballs were juiced. As ESPN's Jeff Passan pointed out, there have been 3,691 home runs hit across baseball so far this season. The record that I previously stated of 6,105 home runs that was set in 2017 should be easily shattered by at least 500 home runs come October. According to Verlander, it's a joke. He told ESPN that he thinks MLB is engineering the home run surge by juicing baseballs. Quote, "It's a effing joke. Major League Baseball is turning this game into a joke. They own Rawlings, and you've got Manfred up here saying it might be the way they center the pill. They own the effing company. If any other $40 billion company bought out a $400 million company and the product changed dramatically, it's not a guess as to what happened. We all know what happened. Manfred, the first time he came in, what'd he say? He said, we want more offense. All of a sudden he comes in, the balls are juiced. It's not a coincidence. We're not idiots." Verlander went on to say, when asked if he thought baseball juicing was intentional, he said, yes, 100%. They've been using juiced baseballs in the home run derby forever. They know how to do it. It's not coincidence. I find it really hard to believe that Major League Baseball owns Rawlings and just coincidentally the balls become juiced. And I'd like to throw it out there that despite this, hostility from Justin Verlander on this, and rightfully so. Verlander is 10-4, and he's got a 2.98 ERA this season. He's doing pretty damn well. It's Justin Verlander. Probably be in Cooperstown one day. I think that's a safe assessment, but that remains to be seen. But I think that's a pretty safe assessment. Justin Verlander's pissed off. You have Bleacher Report with an article that says MLB should fully embrace its growing juiced ball problem. And, only 4 players have ever hit 14 home runs before May 1st. 2 of them did it this year. 4 players have done it. Alex Rodriguez and Albert Pujols. But the 2 that did it this year, Cody Bellinger and Christian Yelich. Granted, those guys are great players, not taking anything away from them. They put their eye on the ball, they swing and they hit it. But these balls, there's no doubt about it, something is up with these balls. There's a lot of people within the game as well that say that in order for you to actually know whether a baseball is juiced or not, you have to throw one. And you see a lot of these comments from the guys that are throwing them. Justin Verlander with his comments. Alex Cobb told David Shannon of the Washington Post, "I'm amazed the question is even being asked. The ball is juiced. We're in the entertainment industry, and if fans really do enjoy watching home runs, then that's what's going to be done, and that's fine. It's just frustrating to have to answer the questions as if it's performance-based when I've been working on my craft with a certain type of ball my entire big league career, and then all of a sudden it's changed. It's hard to talk about it because as pitchers it sounds like sour grapes." David Price of the Boston Red Sox says, "Come on, just tell us. We all see it. Just come clean and say it." To this end, of course, as I said, Rob Manfred, he's really ignored the conversation. And he did acknowledge, apparently, a report in 2018 that modern baseballs have less drag on them while in the air. When the drag goes down, the ball goes further and you're going to have more home runs. I don't know what the hell that means, but it sounds like Rob Manfred knows that these balls are juiced too. You look at both sides of it, really it's a recurring problem in the sport of baseball. You have the old guard and the new wave. You have the new fans, the people 30 and under that really don't give a rat's ass if these balls are juiced. Do you think I give a rat's if these balls are juiced? No, I don't. I don't care. I don't care if a player decides to shove a 6-inch needle in his ass and wants to get juiced and jacked up on Mountain Dew and steroids and hit a ball 700 feet. I really don't give a damn. I really don't. And it says a lot because I am a sports purist at heart. I love the game of baseball just as much as anyone, just as much as any game out there. But if these guys want to destroy their bodies for the sake of my entertainment, let them do it. To be honest, if that's the road they want to go down, if that's what they feel like they need in order to entertain me, then let them do it. If they want to juice the balls for offense in this game, to make this game what it should be, whatever. At this point, to be quite honest, baseball needs all the help they can get, but you don't do it like this. You don't get all the help you can get by rigging the game. The integrity of the game is at stake, as always. It's been since the early 90s. And really, when these drugs became available for these players to take, that's when one can of worms was already opened. And then another can of worms was opened. Now another can of worms is being opened. You had the steroid era. You had players denying it, then players admitting it. The guy that is fourth all-time in home runs probably won't be in the Hall of Fame. The guy that is first all-time in home runs probably won't be in the Hall of Fame. Players that were the faces of their era, guys like A-Rod, David Ortiz, Barry Bonds. I don't know if David Ortiz will get in the Hall of Fame. I would love him to for my own bias reasons, but I don't think he will, due to his connection with steroids and on the Mitchell Report and all that stuff. But hey, as Jose Canseco exposed, baseball knew about it. Baseball is like the mafia of sports. They will shoot their mother for $1. They will stomp on their grandma's head for a good payday. And yeah, you know, the visual's a little bit morbid and everything, but you get the point. They're like the Don King of sports. They will do whatever it takes to make that money and to bring in those fans, put those asses in the seats. And they're doing it. They are 100% doing it. The players know it. The managers know it. And oftentimes, as we know, there are unspoken rules in the sport of baseball. Rules that don't get spoken of, but rules that every player in that quote-unquote fraternity knows about. And this is becoming one of those quote-unquote unwritten rules that these balls are manipulated, that the stitches on the ball are lower, and that the stitches on the ball are less than what they were before, and that the cork is not in the center of the ball, but a rubber ball is in the center of the ball. You see players swinging outside the strike zone, going opposite field now, more than ever before. You see players swinging at pitches that they have no business swinging at, but those pitches end up being fair because those balls are not built the same way as the balls that were hit foul. And I think that when you have statistics of players that had never done this before May 14th or had never done this before this certain date, now you got two that have done that. You have a record that states that in 2017, 6,000 plus home runs were hit, and this year, 3 years later, we're on pace to break that. Something's a little off. Something's a little odd. And if it were me, from my perspective, if the majority of the pitchers know it, these guys have dedicated their lives to this game. They know everything there is to know about the game of baseball, the good, the bad, the indifferent. If they know that this is going on and it's pissing them off, this is just getting started. This controversy can be the next black eye on the sport of baseball, and it does not need another one, but it very well could be the next black eye on the sport of baseball. Commissioner Rob Manfred has to speak up. He has to do a lot of things differently than what he's doing right now. And a lot of the old guard, the Goose Gossages, the Pete Roses, the Joe Morgans, the Johnny Benches, they do not like the state of the game right now. They do not like it. Maybe they have their own reasons, their own motivation in saying what they say. And I think part of it is the fact that Pete Rose never made even close to the money that Mike Trout has made in his career. But that was just economics. That was just the era. Those guys are not making $40 million a year. Unfortunately, I wish they did for their sake because they deserved it. Not saying Mike Trout doesn't, but, I mean, come on, Pete Rose, nobody's going to have more hits than that guy ever, I don't think. Oh, but you got guys that say stuff like that, and I think that that's going to be very, very interesting topic, and I really appreciate Zach bringing that to my attention. I really want to pull up the Pete Rose Michael Kay interview that took place recently. Pete Rose does not like anything about today's game. We'll put it on right now for you.
greatest shortstop ever in the history of baseball is? Who you think?
Greatest shortstop ever?
Ever. If you're going to start a team, who you want to play shortstop?
Maybe Jeter.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm a Cal guy, you know that.
Who?
Cal Ripken. Yeah, Cal Ripken.
There's only one guy you start your team with.
Who?
His name's Alex Rodriguez. He's the third baseman only with the Yankees.
Right.
Yeah.
This guy's got 2,000 more RBIs, 2,000 more runs scored, and 697 home runs and Golden Gloves. Jeter's the winningest shortstop ever.
Right.
Okay? Talk about Jeter for a moment. We got some time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Now, I don't think there's anybody in the country who knows more about baseball than me, and I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just telling you the truth.
You're sort of tooting your own horn, but I respect it.
Well, name somebody who knows more about baseball.
Exactly. Well, you're Pete Rose. I think you're allowed to do that.
It has nothing to do with my name. But there again, I don't think I could leave this studio today and go run the Reds tomorrow. And I think Jeter's finding that harder than he thought it was going to be. He's a great shortstop. He'd probably make a great manager. But running a baseball team is difficult, Michael. You know that. Okay? And the first thing he did when he went there is you got to rid of all the salaries. You got a billionaire owner, right? So why are you worried about the salaries? I understand. Why did anybody ever give Stanton that much money? Okay, I don't know. D. Gordon's gone. How about the kid from Milwaukee?
Oh,
who Jeter had?
Unbelievable.
MVP. He might be MVP this year again.
Yeah.
I mean, so it takes a different mentality to run a baseball team, I think. And Jeter knows baseball as much as anybody except me. Okay. But that don't help you as making those decisions and knowing the tampering rules and all that different stuff. It's not like playing the game. Do you guys have a feeling that? Do you disagree with it or agree with it?
Well, I think he's hurting his legacy in Miami. The people down there don't like him. He made some unpopular moves, and he got rid of great players.
I just don't understand when you got a player as great as him. He's got to have $250 in the bank, right?
You would think.
Okay. And he just built a 22,000 square foot home in Tampa with 10-car garage. Why do you take a job in Miami?
I just think he likes it down there. I think the challenge.
He lives in Tampa.
It's the challenge, I think.
Well, Harry Jeter don't need no challenge of managing a team or being a general manager of a team. If he wanted a challenge, he should have become manager of the Yankees.
Yeah, but he's part owner there. I think that was
that's because they got a billionaire friend who gave him a percentage.
Right.
Yeah, but I just said he's worth $250. You need more money? It's like A-Rod. Every time I turn the TV on, A-Rod's somewhere.
But I think he enjoys the challenge. I'm not sure how much he enjoys the game. Like you say, you watch every game.
Yeah, he
was anxious to leave the game.
I don't enjoy it at all. Because
but you enjoyed your past. Like when they had to drag you off the field. Yeah, I think Derek looked forward to not playing baseball anymore.
I don't think so. No,
I don't think that's true at all.
No,
he loved the game too much.
He didn't like to watch the game when he wasn't playing it.
Right.
But he was ready. When he was done, he was done.
Oh, A-Rod told me when he used to go out with Jeter, they couldn't go anywhere where the game was on TV because Jeter didn't want to watch it.
Right.
So he dove into the ballparks and said that this one was ridiculous, this one's that, this one. And a little bit of that went off of what I was talking about. They were talking about A-Rod and Jeter and stuff like that because it was a Yankees show. But I think the point is the point. The game has drastically changed. They have done everything they can to make it more exciting. They've done everything they can to make it appease to this snowflake era of youth that's grown up in this country. Faster is better. And the people like myself, the purists, the people like, my buddy Zach, as well as, our fathers and our grandfathers and uncles, they just want the game to stay the same. Don't mess with the game. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Don't break something that you shouldn't try to break to make it new. It's like they break something to try to get a new one. And why break what works? Why break it? It doesn't make sense. But hey, they have to try to appease to the people that don't want to watch the game. And I get that because it is a business and they're competing with the other sports. Football's grown, no doubt about it. Hockey has grown. Mixed martial arts has grown. Basketball has grown, and for all the criticism that I give to the game of basketball, they've at least marketed their athletes well. Whereas baseball is so bad at that. I mean, you have more young talent in the game now than you have in the last 20 years, and you can't see any Major League Baseball player on a billboard, anywhere. I mean, I know I don't live in a Major League city town, but I live an hour and a half away from one where you got a young generational talent who's hitting 30 home runs in a home run derby right now, and Vlad Guerrero Jr., why is he not on a billboard somewhere at the casino? Why is he not marketed enough? It doesn't make much sense to me, and I feel like baseball has missed the boat on a lot. And I know that this juice baseball theory, this conversation is just getting started. It's just getting started, folks. So I really hope you enjoyed that edition of the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. My name is Ryan Thomas. Thank you so much for tuning in on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Greatly appreciate the love and support. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, subscribe on Spotify, and subscribe on YouTube. I greatly appreciate it. Baseball. Are the balls juiced or not?